Before I ever made the Empress blush, I feared her. Everyone did. Her name was Veloria Thren, sovereign of the Celestine Dominion, keeper of the 9 stellar crowns, conqueror of the Perseid reaches. Entire star systems adjusted their orbits, politically and economically, at her command. Fleets moved when she lifted a single finger. Civilizations negotiated their survival in the quiet pause before she spoke. And I was the human assigned to stand in front of her and talk. The Dominion had discovered humanity 12 years earlier, when one of their survey vessels detected our quantum broadcasts leaking into the dark. Unlike many species the Dominion encountered, we were not annexed. We were observed, evaluated, and eventually, much to our collective relief, offered provisional alliance status. The condition? Cultural integration. That was where I came in. My name is Cassian Ardent. I was a xenocultural specialist, trained in comparative cognition and non-human semiotics. In simpler terms, I studied how alien minds shaped their societies and how those societies expressed meaning. When the Dominion requested a permanent human envoy to the Imperial court, my superiors volunteered me before I could properly object. "You're adaptable," my director had said. "Curious. And you don't faint under pressure." I came close to proving her wrong the first time I saw Veloria in person. The Imperial court was housed aboard the Etherian Spire, a colossal orbital construct circling the Dominion's capital world, Lysara Prime. The spire wasn't built. It was grown, woven from crystalline alloys and bioresponsive materials that shimmered like liquid starlight. From its observation decks, entire nebulae were visible in shifting, iridescent clouds. The throne chamber was a cathedral of space and silence. Transparent walls opened onto the void, where distant stars burned like scattered embers. The floor beneath my boots was smooth black crystal, reflecting the galaxies above as if I stood between infinities. At the far end, elevated on a platform of pale luminescent stone, she waited. Veloria. She was taller than any human, nearly 7 feet, her form slender, yet undeniably powerful. Her skin held a faint opalescent sheen, catching the starlight and scattering it in subtle hues of blue and violet. Her eyes were silver, true silver, metallic and luminous, like twin moons polished to perfection. Her crown was not metal but energy, a circlet of stabilized plasma that hovered above her brow, shifting and flickering in slow pulses. She did not rise when I approached. She did not need to. "You are the human," she said, her voice resonant and layered, as though multiple harmonics moved beneath the surface of her words. "I am Cassian Ardent, your radiance." A faint pause. "You are smaller than I anticipated." I resisted the urge to glance at myself. Most humans are. A ripple passed through the advisors flanking her, subtle, but unmistakable. Was that amusement? Veloria's gaze sharpened. "You will address me as Empress." "Yes, Empress." She regarded me for several long seconds. "In my court, humans are considered volatile, emotionally erratic, fragile." "That's not entirely inaccurate," I admitted. Another ripple. Her silver eyes flickered, just slightly. "Honesty," she observed. "Unusual. I find it efficient. Efficiency is valued." And just like that, my position was secured, not through diplomacy or grand speeches, but through a simple refusal to pretend. Still, I feared her. Everyone did. 2. The woman beneath the crown. Weeks turned into months. My duties required near-constant proximity to the Empress. I advised on human cultural protocols, explained our irrational traditions, translated metaphors that Dominion linguistics engines struggled to decode. She asked precise questions. Why do humans celebrate the passage of time with increasing enthusiasm for diminishing youth? Why do you write fiction about dystopia while living in relative peace? Why does your species equate vulnerability with weakness? That last question lingered. Because historically, I told her, vulnerability often led to exploitation. And yet you display it in art, in relationships. We're contradictory, so I have observed. Our conversations gradually shifted beyond formal necessity. She would summon me not only for cultural briefings, but for discussions about philosophy, mortality, even humor. She did not laugh easily, but when she did, it was quiet, a soft modulation in her voice, a subtle dimming of the plasma crown. I began to notice things others seemed blind to. The way her fingers flexed slightly when she was uncertain. The faint brightening of her crown when she was pleased. The way she stood a fraction less rigid when we were alone. The galaxy saw an untouchable sovereign. I saw glimpses of something else. 3. A private audience. The night it happened, the spire drifted through the edge of a stellar nursery, a vast cloud of ionized gas glowing in brilliant pinks and golds. The throne chamber lights were dimmed, allowing the nebula's radiance to fill the space. She had dismissed her advisors early. "You requested privacy," she said as I approached. "Yes, Empress." I hesitated. Humans are foolish when they are struck by beauty. The nebula's light refracted across her skin, painting her in cosmic fire. The plasma crown shimmered like captured sunrise. For a moment, the words I'd prepared evaporated. "You wish to speak," she prompted. "Yes." I swallowed. I wanted to say, "You look breathtaking tonight." The silence that followed felt infinite. Her posture stiffened. "What did you say?" "I said you look breathtaking." Her silver eyes widened, just slightly. The plasma crown flickered erratically, flaring brighter before dimming. "I am aware of my physical composition," she said carefully. "That's not what I meant." "Then clarify." It wasn't analysis. It was admiration. The word hung there, fragile and dangerous. No one in the Dominion admired the Empress. They revered her, feared her, obeyed her. But admiration? That was different. For a heartbeat, she held my gaze. Then, astonishingly, she looked away. Actually looked away. Her chin tilted down, the faintest shimmer of color spreading across her otherwise opalescent cheeks, a soft iridescent flush, like moonlight catching rose quartz. The plasma crown dimmed to a gentle glow. The Empress of the Celestine Dominion blushed. "I do not require flattery," she said, her voice slightly softer. "It wasn't flattery." "You are certain?" "Very." She remained turned away for a moment longer before straightening, regaining composure. "You should exercise caution, Cashin Ardent." "With compliments?" "With me." 4. Whispers in the court. It didn't take long for the court to notice something had shifted. The Empress summoned me more frequently. Our discussions ran longer. Her directives began incorporating subtle human philosophies, empathy-driven reforms, diplomatic patience rather than immediate enforcement. Some advisors approved. Others did not. High Chancellor Varix was among the latter. He cornered me one afternoon in a corridor lined with bioluminescent vines. "You tread dangerous ground, human." "I'm walking," I replied carefully. "You influence her." "She makes her own decisions." "Do not pretend ignorance," he hissed. "The Empress has ruled for centuries with unwavering clarity. Now she hesitates." Considering alternatives isn't weakness. In our history, hesitation has cost empires, and inflexibility has destroyed them. His eyes narrowed. "You think yourself indispensable. I think she deserves honesty." He stepped closer. "You forget your place." "No," I said quietly. "I remember it very well." The shattering. The breaking point came during a council summit with representatives from a recently annexed system. The Dominion Standard Protocol for non-compliant worlds was swift and decisive restructuring, economic absorption, leadership replacement, cultural integration. This time, Vealoria hesitated. There are alternative pathways, she said. Gradual integration. Cooperative development. The chamber murmured. Varix rose. Your radiance, such leniency undermines our authority. Our authority is not so fragile, she replied evenly. It is when guided by sentiment. The implication was clear. Her gaze flicked toward me for the briefest moment. I felt the weight of it. You question my judgment? She asked, voice dropping. I question external influences. Silence thundered through the chamber. Vealoria stood. The plasma crown flared violently, casting sharp light across the chamber. My judgment, she said coldly, requires no validation. The summit concluded abruptly. Later, she summoned me. Her composure was brittle. You are a liability, she said without preamble. I didn't speak. You did not need to. I offered you perspective. Nothing more. She turned toward the viewport, stars reflecting in her silver eyes. They believe you weaken me. Do I? She did not answer immediately. When you called me breathtaking, she said slowly, I experienced a destabilization. That sounds serious. It was unfamiliar. Unfamiliar doesn't mean dangerous. In my position, unfamiliar often is. I stepped closer. You rule the stars, I said quietly. Surely you can survive a compliment. A flicker of reluctant amusement. You mistake my concern, she said. It is not the compliment itself. It is what it represents. And what's that? Seeing. 6. The fear of being seen. You see me, she continued, voice low. Not as a symbol. Not as a force. As something else. A person, I said. She exhaled slowly. Sovereigns are not persons. We are functions. That's convenient propaganda. Her eyes flashed. You presume much. I observe. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see faint constellations reflected in her irises. If I am seen as merely a woman, she said, I become vulnerable. Or human. I countered gently. I am not human. No, I agreed. But you're not just an empire either. Her fingers flexed at her sides. You destabilize me, Cashin. I didn't mean to. I know. Silence settled. Then she asked, almost reluctantly, when you look at me, what do you see? I held her gaze. I see someone carrying too much alone. The plasma crown dimmed to a soft, steady glow. 7. The confrontation. Varix acted sooner than we expected. An emergency council was convened. A motion proposed limiting my access to the Empress, citing undue influence. Vealoria listened in silence as arguments flew. When it was my turn to speak, I stepped forward. I am not here to control your Empress, I said. I'm here because she asked questions. Because she wanted understanding. You encourage deviation, Varix snapped. I encourage growth. He turned to Vealoria. Your radiance, will you allow this human to redefine centuries of Dominion doctrine? The chamber waited. Vealoria rose slowly. For centuries, she said, I have ruled without personal attachment, without deviation, without vulnerability. Her gaze found mine. I have been feared, obeyed, respected. She paused. Never admired. A murmur. When he spoke, I felt exposed. Not diminished. Not manipulated. Simply seen. She turned back to the council. If such perception weakens me, then our empire is already fragile. Varix stiffened. You would risk stability for sentiment? I would risk stagnation for evolution, she replied. The motion failed. My access remained. 8. Beyond the crown. That night, she summoned me again to the throne chamber. No advisors. No council. Only stars. I have made my choice, she said. And I will not retreat into untouchable divinity. That's good, I said carefully. You are remarkably unafraid. Oh, I'm terrified, I admitted. I just don't show it well. A faint smile. You altered nothing about my power, she said. But you altered how I inhabit it. That was always yours to change. She stepped down from the platform, something she rarely did during formal hours. Standing before me, no elevation between us, she removed the plasma crown. It hovered beside her, dim and quiet. In this moment, she said, I am not Empress. Then who are you? Veloria. The name felt sacred. I swallowed. You're still breathtaking, I said softly. This time, the blush came faster, and she did not look away. 9. A new orbit. In the cycles that followed, the Dominion did not collapse. It adapted. Policies evolved. Alliances strengthened. The Empress retained her authority, but she no longer wielded it from isolation. And I remained at her side, not as a symbol, not as a weakness, as a mirror. One evening, as we watched a supernova bloom in distant brilliance, she spoke quietly. You once feared me. I did. And now, I still do, I admitted. But not because you rule the stars. Why then? Because you trust me with who you are beneath the crown. She considered that. Trust is rare. So is honesty. She glanced at me. You continue to find me breathtaking. Every time. Her silver eyes softened. I rule galaxies, she said. Yet it is your simple words that unsettle me. Good unsettle? Yes. She turned fully toward me. I once believed power required distance. Now I understand it requires connection. And are you sorry? I asked. For what? For letting yourself be seen. She stepped closer, her presence warm despite the cold stars beyond. No, she said. Then, with a faint smile and a glow in her eyes that outshone any nebula, I am grateful. In the end, she still ruled the stars. Fleets answered her command. Systems bowed to her authority. The Dominion remained vast and formidable. But sometimes, when the galaxy quieted and the crown dimmed, she would glance at me with that same shy flicker in her gaze. And in those moments, the most powerful being in the known universe was not a distant empress. She was simply Veloria. And every time I told her she was breathtaking, she believed me.